Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this session. I would like to introduce Roger De Leon presenting this morning's session, Parent Partners as a Community Engagement Strategy. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, everyone. I want to ask a favor if it's possible. I am a trainer and I do a lot of trainings. One of the things that I don't like is to feel alone. So I'm gonna ask as a favor if you can come on come into the video so that way I know and I can see you and know that I'm not alone in this, right? As I'm gonna run through this piece right here. And I thank you for doing that. Now, depending on the size of the group, we may have some time for some discussion, right? But I do love feedback. I don't like to be the only one talking. It does get eerie for me, and so I like to know and also learn from those who are in the room as well. And so my name is Roger De Leon Jr., and I am a parent partner, a trainer, and I'm also part of the Parent Partner Advisory Committee with UC Davis. And so on behalf of UC Davis, I'll be presenting the Parent Partner Program, talking about that. And of course, my workshop today is Parent Partners as a Community Engagement Strategy. And so, just looking at just everything in general, the importance of the lived experience. And so as we've been asked to come and present, I do want to share that research has shown the effectiveness and positive outcomes for families when working with parent partners and the impact for agencies who utilize them for prevention planning. And so we're going to talk in depth a little bit more about that piece as well. And so, but first and foremost, as I shared with you, I am a parent partner. I am also a trader and so on and so forth. But I'm also more than that. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so this is a little bit about who I am, right? And so I am a father of a beautiful daughter who is 27 years old. Let me get that right, 27 years old, right? So if she heard me, she'd be like, Dad, you don't even know how old I am, right? And so also I'm a grandfather of three beautiful grandchildren. And so as I shared in the beginning, I am a father with lived experience. So I have navigated the child welfare system. I am, as a parent partner, that's what you have to have is that background. I've also navigated family law and child support. So I'm also a father advocate, right? But I'm very heavily invested in my family. And so, and of course, I cannot forget my beautiful queen of 21 years, going to be 22 in June, my wife, who together we've navigated these systems and overcome many of these systems. So along with that, I've also been a part of developing the Parent Partner Program for Riverside County Children's Services. I was the first one hired on. I was the only male Spanish-speaking parent partner for the many years that I've served there until I resigned in May of last year to go full independent contracting. But I'm also a part, as I shared, about of the Parent Partner Advisory Committee, which we'll get a little bit more into depth with that. But I'm a co-founder, of the fatherhood, oh my goodness. Let me slow down real quick. I gotta slow down. Maybe too much coffee. Dad's Assisting Dads Coalition for Riverside County. So I'm also a part of that. I'm also, as I shared, a trainer, but I'm also the co-chair for the mandated reporting to community supporting task force that was mentioned earlier by Director Johnson. That is right there with the preventative early intervention under the Child Welfare Council. So I started off in the county. I actually started off a lived experience, right? Navigating the system, which grew into developing the Parent Partner Program, which opened the door to be able to become a trainer, to be a part of the Parent Partner Advisory Committee under UC Davis, which Intel gave me the ability to be able to have different platforms to grow. And within my time within the child welfare services that I was a part of, I was also part of a lot of the different programming and development. The system improvement plan, I was there as well to help develop that as a father with lived experience. for the father engagement, but also for the parent's voice. So just a little bit about who I am, the background that I've had, the different areas, and where I'm still going and developing now, working with CDSS and the state and all that wonderful, wonderful, opportunities that have been presented to me. But I'm still part of the Parent Partner Advisory Committee. So enough about that piece. So, who is the Parent Partner Advisory Committee? What are our goals? So the goals is to bring together the collective voice of active parent representatives and agencies they serve. The commitment identifies emerging issues and provides guidance for improving the models and strategies employed to support this unique and highly valued role. And as I shared with you before, that I'm still part of it, and I've been a member of PPAC for the past 6 years, and I've been a trainer for Davis for 5 years plus, which I look back, wow, where did that time go? But I did find my opportunities with Davis as I was developing as a parent partner, going in there and meeting other parent partners, peer support specialists, and all these other wonderful individuals across the board, and just being able to share and talk about the different avenues as a parent partner of what we can do. And there's a reason why I'm sharing all this, because all of the exposure that we got with the Parent Partner Advisory Committee was unique, but it was also an opportunity for us to develop into being a part of what is taking place today. And so we promote that because we want everyone to know the importance of parent partners, right? And so who we are lived experience professionals working in child welfare, probation, and behavioral health systems of care. As I shared with you before, being a part of the PPAC, Parent Partner Advisory Committee, there are different types of parent partners. There are different types of peer support specialists. We even have youth partners that attend. And so with all of these diverse individuals coming together, we were able to develop and look at different aspects across the state and how practice is done, and build one another, encourage one another, especially to be a part of the counties that we belong to. And so it's something that was able to develop us into professionals to be able to see things, not just from the lived experience, but also for the agencies that we were able to be a part of. An example would be myself when I worked with child welfare. When I went in there, the program wasn't even developed. It was an idea. And so we went in there was nothing done. And so I was myself with 5 other colleagues were able to go in there and begin to develop our parent partner program. On the other side to that, I was privileged to be able to go sit in induction to understand how child welfare functioned, how it flowed, what the process was. So that way we can help the parents that we were serving, but also bridge that gap between, social workers, or as they call them in Riverside County, social service practitioners, as well as, parents. And it went further than that, where we were able to begin to communicate with the community. And because we have the lived experience, we were able to have that, that ability to be able to connect and bridge that gap. And so some examples were the Title IV waiver programs, wraparound, co-located in child welfare systems like I was actually hired by Children's Services, so I was behind the doors. So I got to see the perspective of child welfare. I made a lot of social worker friends and saw the impact of the caseload, the turnovers. So I was, I wouldn't say privileged, but able to see a different side of this whole function. And so, which gave me a different perspective to kind of stay down the middle, to be able to side with no one, but side with everyone, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Side with no one and side with everyone. And the thing about that was I was able to bring a perspective, of both sides when we were developing these like system improvement plans and prevention plans, and being that voice of that parent, but also understanding the navigation of the system. And so this is what parent partners bring to the table. These are the things that we are able to bring out as we're working with those who allow us to be a part of that. So And then, of course, justice diversion programs. So like I shared with you, there are different types of parent partners, peer support specialists, family advocates, and so on. So what are the program models, right? Court-based, child welfare, behavioral health, SUD agencies, community providers. These are the different agencies that have parent partners and peer support specialists that are able to come in and bring, that whole piece, but also who have navigated these systems. Any questions this one? I know I might be going a little fast. Apologies. Like I said, I think the coffee's kicking in. So I just want to make sure everything's flowing right. And so, but if you do have any questions or anything, please let me know. And that way we can stop for a minute and be able to go through all that. So, all right, let's move ahead, shall we? And so so we're also considered changing agents, right? So the Parent Partner Advisory Committee, as I shared with you, was out of the UC Davis, but there also came out the peer and parent partner hubs, where it's a different gathering, still stems from the Parent Partner Advisory Committee, to be able to gather with more parent partners, peer support specialists, but also the supervisors throughout the state to gather within the northern, central, and southern sector of the state. So that way we can hear what's happening in the backyards of different regions, but also give input, bring workshops, be able to work together with those who may not have a lot of experience, especially the newcomers, but also to help within certain issues and being able to bring and provide certain workshops to be able to help develop or understand the things that are taking place within child welfare, and even with probation as well, and so in behavioral health. And so the connection with that is being able to bring out all of these different dynamics to the community, but also to hear from the community what are the necessities, because the Parent Partner Advisory Committee also works closely with CDSS. So we're able to provide feedback to them as well. And so understanding what's going down. And so as I shared, I was with Riverside County, working with them, developing, bringing that perspective, the importance, and as we were hearing earlier, one of the things that really stood out for me with the presentation with our Indigenous, partners was the point that a lot of lived experience individuals share. And something that I was able to share was that when we're trying to get feedback from, our individuals from the community, calling them into the agency, it wouldn't be probably the greatest thing, right? And so I can share a story along with that as well, where our county did that, and these were individuals who had already successfully reunified and were on their way, and they called these families back. And out of 150 families that were called to join the meeting for feedback, only one family showed up. And so when the family showed up, they asked him, what was your reasoning for showing up, right? Just out of curiosity, said because they felt that if they didn't, it would be used against them. So the whole thing behind that was the fear of bringing, individual lived experience back into child welfare where they have left, and they didn't want anything to do with it.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh, if you are not speaking to the group, if you can please mute yourself, so that way I won't get distracted, because I get distracted easy, as you can see. And I love to hear from anyone who'd like to share. So I get squirreled easy, I'll throw that out there. So, but yeah, so the idea was, okay, so let's think about this differently. I was able to give feedback to say, if we want to really hear from the community, really pay attention and get that feedback, we have to go outside of these walls of whatever agency, child welfare, behavioral health, probation, in order to be able to go. And it was shared also in the presentation, or should I say, the individuals who were able to bring out their perspective that, there is a stigma, there is a fear. And so that's something that I would share about that piece as well. Peer Backbone Committee with CDSS was developed, and so there's a lot of feedback goes in there. CWAC Steering Committee, and of course the state committees. So, and I shared with you as well that I'm a part of the mandate reporting to community supporting. I'm the co-chair for that task force as well. So we've been able to move around and really bring out opportunities for change. Now the MRCS, which is a task force, are developing recommendations to be able to bring out to our state through CDSS and other agencies the importance of looking at how we can change and we can have that paradigm shift from mandatory reporting to community supporting, of course, with the safety piece that's there, but just in general, certain things. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but these are some of the ideas of what takes place when parent partners are involved. We hear some real stories, some real feedback coming back. So, all right. Any questions? Thus far, we're good. All right. So what we do, so mentoring, right? So mentoring, education in classes, life skills, engagement, court support, advocacy, empowerment, and voice, bridging, representation, and co-production. So these are all of the things that parent partners do. We bring forth mentoring, right? So it's not just mentoring other individuals, with lived experience. We also can mentor, the perspective of the lived experience within our agency partners. Education in classes, bringing out that piece of the experience. I know for myself, I'm really big on not just child welfare, but father engagement. And so in some of the classes that I teach as a trainer on that piece is I share my story and I give a piece of myself and my experience. So that way there's an understanding and also an awakening to the different sides of things, right? Because unfortunately, like it was shared earlier, there's a lot of policy and different things that takes place that can blind us from moving forward and truly understanding, as we say right here, down here, nothing about us without us, right? The importance of helping us to express ourselves and understanding that our perspective does matter, what we've been through, how we experience things. And so I see two hands up. I see Roxanne and I see Janelle. So Roxanne. Or maybe it's just Janelle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Quick question. Can you share what father engagement looks like in your county?
So in my county, father engagement, we've developed a Dads Assisting Dads Coalition where we gather the agencies, different parts of the agencies like child support was just huge, child welfare, as well as behavioral health. And so what we've done is we've gathered them together and looked for ways that we can develop resources and also bring out the importance of, father inclusion. Right. We know that, in this world that men do have an upper step when it comes into society workspace, but when it comes into the agencies, and this is something that has been echoed throughout not just the state of California, but nationally, and there are statistics, we're not doing so great when we bring father inclusion. So our father engagement within our county is as of right now, bringing out resources and bringing workshops and being able to bring that piece of the importance of father engagement. And that also has to do with the training that we give, even with the universities like Southern, Northern, and Central that bring out, like, say, for instance, working with father and child welfare, which I was one of the trainers to be able to develop facilitate that one and share my story along with the statistics and of course we'd speak about biases and so on. So that's what it looks like within my county as we're continuing to go forward in that. And so I know as of right now, child support has stepped up to head that going. We've just developed some workshops, not just for child support, but for fathers who are in the community to find out what it is that they feel they need, but also to our agencies and determining where they're at and where they're standing with that father engagement piece. So hopefully that helped.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question if you don't mind. I hear that you're working with these different organizations to get this audience. Is it well received?
Believe it or not, it is. It is. It is hard work, right? And you know, you're always going to have those who oppose it, but for the most part, it has been. I can say even throughout the state training, as I've trained in all three regions, and I continue to do so for a majority of it. It is the thing that I think that we are challenging is what does it look like after it's been received, and is it getting pushed forward? One of the things that we get is when we do have, say, for instance, social workers come out, is are we offering it to supervisors, regional managers, you know, and so on, deputy directors and so on. And so I know that within our my goodness, our universities, they're laying it out for everyone to be a part of that, because we believe that when we have headship, and this was something that I also practiced when I was with child welfare, was being able to have conversations with not just our social workers, not just the supervisors, and not just regional managers, deputy directors, and so on. The importance of leadership embracing this is something that a lot of individuals within child welfare, you know, share. Well, we don't have the support. We get these wonderful trainings, we go out and do this and that and the other, and then we go right back because we don't have time, which I understand that piece. So, but within the county, we were getting, you know, some good receptions, and I was getting invited more and more to speak on different parts. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I just find it really hard here in Ventura County to keep dads engaged, although we have this passion, right? We know that we need to lift the dads up, but how do we get them to us? How do we keep them in our audience? So thank you for sharing what works for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ventura County, David Swanson Hollinger, good. He's over the preventive early intervention. He's the co-chair for that, which is over us. So I do speak to him a lot. And so absolutely. And so, yeah, you know, there are opportunities as well for Ventura to be able to plug into the father engagement trainings that are there. And of course, when I go into another county, I don't just go in just to train, just, you know, that way that I'm the only speaker, but to listen, because every backyard is different, right? And so it all depends on the backyard that you have, what's going on and different things like that. But yeah, I hear that a lot, having fathers, keeping them engaged. So, all right. Thank you, Janelle. Let's see, Angela, and then we'll have Jason.
Hi, thank you, Roger. I'm going to try to be quick. I'm Angela Braxton. I have been doing this work for multiple years, and I'm here representing ICF as a National Family Engagement Consultant on the San Diego Child and Family Wellbeing Project. As a parent in this work, when I see what we do, these are all the things we do. And when I hear nothing about us without us, I remember all the way back to when that key term was first developed. And I believe that we believe that. I'm not completely sold in 25 years later, you know, that the systems that we try to engage with and interact with, I'm not sure that they believe that. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that key term, as well as multiple others, you know, that we've heard over the years. One thing that was mentioned this morning in the panel was they talked about being invited to the table that was built. Well, who built that table? And, you know, it reminded me of how case plans were created. I know that states are doing much better today, but when I think about how people are invited to sign their case plans, not necessarily to help create those case plans. When do we, as people with lived experience and professionals who do this work on a national scale, when do we get to a place where we say enough is enough? Because I know, Roger, you've been doing this work for a lot of years. And how many years have you felt as if you are consistently repeating yourself over and over and over and going back? You know, it's almost like we continue to go back to the beginning to speak about things, to talk about engagement. Another thing that was brought to my attention this morning, which is something I've been playing with, is how often is it people like us who are pushing down the doors to engage with systems? What we should not be in that space. Systems should be pushing down the door to engage with us, inviting us to help create those tables, inviting us to help develop those case plans. Because when you invite me to a table that's already built and to sign a case plan that's already developed, I am co-signing your case plan. I am co-signing your table that you built. And that has absolutely nothing to do with me. But the expectation is, as a parent, is that I follow through. I become accountable to what you set out for me to do. And most times families fail in that process because it had nothing to do with them in the first place. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, see what your thoughts are, Roger. I know that this work can be exhausting. I appreciate you and all of your efforts. I've seen you, I've heard you. I am 100% behind you and support of you. So here you are. I
So
just had to talk this morning.
I hear you, Angela, and thank you so much. You know, those are kind of words, but I would always put it that I'm not the only one. And so thank you for your years, right? Thank you for your push. And I think that's what keeps us going, is the fact that, you know, we know that the work is not gonna happen overnight. And I would consider myself a patient man. And I've seen, you know, change, and I'm the type that if I can see a little change, I'm moving forward in it, right? Maybe that's the minister in me, right? That sees something and right. And so I can say, yeah, you're absolutely right. We've seen this many times, and I'm also a firm believer in timing. And I think that if we're able to continue to message things, yes, we're not going to get everything perfect, but if we stop now, who's going to continue fighting? And I'm talking about for both sides, because I've met a lot of wonderful individuals within the agencies who are doing their best in what they can do, but there's always, you know, this stop. And I've met many social workers who quit because they came into this job to look to do something, and they hit a snag. And so this is why, you know, I was sharing, you know, with Janelle, the importance of leadership being involved, because you know, there are disconnects. There are so many things. I've heard so many different things and different parts. And this is why when I go to train or do anything, I'm paying attention to my audience, because my audience is going to teach me something. And each time I go into a training, I learn something new, which gives me that passion to want to go forward and, you know, fight by collaborating, right? I cannot get through anything if I don't understand the other side. And even with as a parent partner coming in and knowing nothing about child welfare, I placed myself intentionally in that area to learn, so that way I knew what the process was. And in that process, I got to meet a lot of wonderful individuals, you know, whose hearts were in the right place, but unfortunately, there was always these walls. And I think that where we're at today, and this is being part of the planning committee for this statewide convening, one of the things that I've thrown out there is the repetitive, how do we keep this going and not just a fad? How do we keep this moving forward? And so it's the messaging that we're not going anywhere, that this message, nothing about us without us, means that we're going to be here and we're going to continue going forward. And if I'm called somewhere else, somebody else will step in. And that's the important piece, because unfortunately, if we were to reach that place, the world would be a perfect place. Unfortunately, it's not, right? And so I think that for me personally, it's a personal passion for me to give, so that way those coming behind me can get what I didn't get. And I have no ill thought or ill feelings towards anyone, right? I've made my peace with my situation, what happened to me, and it's not about me today. It's about the families that are coming behind me. How could I do something? How could I share my story and use it for the benefits of those families who are coming behind us, right? And so that's my piece to share on that. Thank you, Angela, once again. And so, Jason.
Hello, good morning. So just want to also thank you in a group setting for how you've helped empower me and helped give me the importance of my voice. I just really want to talk about how when people are speaking about fatherhood engagement, and how do we get more parent partners? How do we get more people to the table and involved when after you go through a system like this? From my experience, why would I want to come to work and talk to social workers every day? Why would I want to go into a courtroom? Why would I want to go to dependency court? Why would I want to pick up families who are going through the deepest of human tragedy? So with fatherhood engagement, is how can we cultivate more fathers and mothers as parent partners? And I just think that's something we need to do a lot more of. And also, I wanted to ask Roger, how do you join that parent partner advisory group in the Southern region for myself?
So at the end of this presentation, they'll have the information, right? For anyone who wants information, even agencies, to be able to get some technical assistance if maybe you don't have access to parent partners, or you're not sure where they're at, because some parent partners are through the agency, through child welfare, through probation, through behavioral health, and some are contracted, right? So that would be there at the end. And so there's two things. There's the parent partner advisory committee, but there's also the peer hubs. And though they are connected, they're two separate things that take place. And so for the Southern piece, any information you're going to need, we'll have that email to be able to reach out to them in that way. But thank you, Jason, for that.
Hey, Roger, can I ask one more thing? Just can you speak to what happens? I'm a pup. I'm a young pup in this thing. How can you speak to when you first reach that ceiling and you bump your head, where it's like, hey, I see the problem, I see how to fix something, but then your organization doesn't back you up. And then when you want to start pushing, now you're starting to concern about your 9 to 5 and your livelihood, even though you want to do what's right. And based on that experience you had in court, you really don't really mind pushing a little farther. So how do we do that in a constructive way where it's not considered hostile?
So one of the things that I had to learn once again is patience, right? It's being able to build that rapport and learning the culture, depending on which agency that you're a part of. And so, like for myself, child welfare, I couldn't just go in there and just start pushing people around and say, this is how we're going to change things, right? Because right away, wow, that's overwhelming, right? Because I put myself in that shoe and say, would I want someone coming over here and pushing me to the side and telling me, no, I've had that, and I didn't like that feeling. So what could I do? So this is me. What I did is, like I shared, I went in there intentionally to learn the side of child welfare. I learned how to speak the language, right? Which we know, acronyms. I can tell you about a booklet that I got when I got hired on to child welfare, and I had to learn all that. And I went and started learning about the functions and what's doing, and of course you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so after learning and knowing exactly what it is, how things function and all that, I was able to, after developing and all that, be able to have conversations that they would understand, right? Bringing up, their code of conduct and policies and different things like that, a professional one, right? Not so much attacking, but standing up and saying, okay, so this is what we're seeing. And I can tell you also, Jason, that I had to bite my tongue a lot. Right, because there's a time where you step in and you do what you can, and then you realize, man, this is just I got to continue going forward. And, you know, there's a lot of give and take. It's a lot of being patient and flowing, and also understanding what it is that they're trying to do, and then asking the right questions about that. So if we are calling ourselves a human service agency, are we practicing human services, working with humans? How does that look, right? And so, you know, different things like that, having those conversations, but it was really strategically going in, right? And not intentionally being sneaky, but going in and really learning. So that way I knew the two sides and how to approach things, and then having the answer, because when we go in there and we share something about how this is not supposed to be, or what are we doing about this, you also have to have an answer, right? Rather than just throwing and throwing and throwing, and then not having that response, which sounds like you do. So, and then of course, as I share with parents that I worked with within the child welfare system, when you go into court, you cannot express all of your emotions, because then what happens? They see the emotions, they don't see the information, right? And so, going along the lines of that, and just, you know, respecting people, and, you know, and having those professional conversations, is what I would say. So thank you, Jason. Thank you for that. Hopefully that answered your question, right? And of course there's scenarios, right? Different scenarios. It all depends on also what it is. So Lydia, you have your hand up. Thank you for being patient.
No problem. Thank you so much, Roger. I'm really enjoying hearing you, and I appreciate that you are here today sharing, just sharing your experience, and also all of your questions, those who you have asked questions. I really appreciate it. I'm nodding my head a lot in agreement, because I just wanted to say to you, Angela, I feel you, and some of the things that you shared around, like the frustration of feeling like I've been doing this for 25 years. I think you said 25 years. And I don't know that everybody's, you know, bought into the idea of nothing without us, or nothing about us without us, right? And I just wanted to share with you that I share the same frustration, and I know there's a couple of others here on our in this workshop that can say they share the same frustration, and we work within the system. It's very, very slow moving. And if you think about the time that it's taken to build such a culture, such a system, right? I mean, it's taking the same amount of time probably to dismantle that, right? To create something new. And so I just want to encourage you, someone put in here around digging deep into your spiritual practice, or, you know, finding that support. It's so important. I just want to say to you, I want to encourage you, and I hope that you probably do have a good support system. And I know that there's those of us who are within the system that we have created a sort of informal support. And we really try to support each other in all of those daily things. Somebody said here that it's exhausting. It sure is. It is so exhausting. And we have to find ways to lock arms with those with have the same ideas, like-mindedness. How do we partner? How do we be strategic in what we're doing? And I want to assure you that, I mean, if you think about how far we've gotten, we're here today and we're having the conversations openly. Some of the things that I'm forgetting what her name was, but she said Elise said some powerful things today. And I just hope that as we remember these things, or take note of these things, that we are continuing to go forth in a courageous way to say those things, to express them, and figure out, how do we do this? I love, Janelle, that you're bringing up the father engagement. That's something that I feel like I keep saying father engagement everywhere I go. I feel, and that's how it feels like you have to repeat. Somebody also said that, like, I feel like I've been repeating myself over. That's what you have to do. And as we find each other, let's continue to work together and just keep with that passion and have faith. Like Roger said, that there's timing is everything, and we can't quit. We have to keep going forth.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing that piece. Does anyone else want to share before we move on? Oh, such a wonderful conversation, right? And, you know, I invite anyone from any agency as well. I mean, I invite your questions. I'm a realist. We can have these conversations and going forward and figure these things out and just develop as we go, and as I said, the reason why I'm presenting on behalf of the Parent Partner Advisory Committee, the PPAC, is because that's a place where I went to get and find who I was, believe it or not. And so it was gathering around other individuals with experience who had years of experience who taught me and encouraged me and, to become, help me to get to where I'm at today. And so, but it also taught me how to be an advocate within my county, right? To earn the respect and the voice that I got within my county. I didn't agree with everything. Trust me, there was a lot of things that I had questioned, on certain things. And we know that, just the outcomes of just different decisions taking place for whatever reason, we're not always going to agree on. At the same time, it didn't discourage me to quit. And I saw a lot of victories out of that. I got to be a part of it. Not that I take credit for it, because it's a team effort. And I think this is why it's important. And this is why I'm here speaking on his behalf on that. And then, the importance of, parent partners as a community engagement strategy, because if we're looking to really change, practice or the paradigm shift of how we can bring in prevention, it's important to really hear those who have the lived experience, who have navigated it. And it's not just looking for the ones that positively did this. I'm gonna bring this out. It's also for those who did not have the outcome that was successful for whatever reason. Like I said, I've had to bite my tongue on things, and it was hard at times. And I'll be transparent with you. Sometimes I came home and I cried because of what took place, and that's just a reality. As a father with lived experience, you go in and you relive your trauma, but at the same time, being able to sit at the table, as we talked about, and not just sit there to check a box, but to actually begin to co-develop. And we'll talk about that piece right now. I know we have a handout on that, but to co-develop with something and then to see it come to fruition, those are what I call the big ones. Even the small ones that nobody knows about, where a family, a mom or dad or both parents were unified and were able to go on their way that nobody knew about. Those were victories, right? And I'm not going to throw out statistics on all that, but those for me were huge victories. And this is why coming into this, in every aspect, it's important, that we are inclusive and give the opportunities for those who have navigated it to bring their voice, and to really listen to it, right? Not just bring them to the table. And so let me share my screen again so we can move forward on some of these things. But thank you all for sharing your piece. And so we talked about what we do, right? Nothing about us without us. And in the Parent Partner Advisory Committee, that was the first time I heard this saying right here. And Angela, you said that it's been around for some time. Yeah, there's a lot of individuals with experience who don't understand that, who don't know that. And that's why we're advocating, right? We're advocating for both sides to be able to see how we can work together and continue to be consistent in doing it, right? The importance of that. And so the benefits, right? Instill hope in parents, right? Self-advocacy, connect to services, build protective factors, shift the way that the parent are perceived, right? The perspective of how we view it. I got story upon stories of when I was able to sit down with social workers, regional managers, and deputy directors who gave me the time and day to be able to have a conversation and share the different perspectives that shifted their mindset. And not just within Riverside County, as a trainer throughout, right? Bringing out that perspective of the parents. And, do we truly know who they are when they come up? This is the role of a parent partner, to be able to bring that to, and of course to address the power and culture dynamics, right? Because, individuals with lived experience are just the community itself know the power that agencies have, especially child welfare. We call it the power of the pen. And this quick explanation about that is the power of the stroke of the pen that writes down what a family looks like can either build it or destroy it. And that's the truth. And that comes from not just families. That is also has been shared by individuals within child welfare that I've come across and have the conversations who share with me. I may know child welfare like the back of my hand, but let a worker come to my door and I'm going to turn into mama or papa bear because I know that person, it's their perspective that's written down that can shift my family. And so these are once again, staff development, and anyone within child welfare understands that piece as well. And so this is why it's an important piece of changing the way that we view because of that power, that dynamic, right? So that's just one example. Not that anyone, is looking to do that. I wish I can say that's 1,000% true. I'll just leave it there. So the key components to all of this is the training, the compensation, right? That's another big one. How we treat parent partners, the value that we have. Value is great. You're doing a wonderful job and all that. But see, thank you doesn't put gas in my tank, doesn't pay my rent. And I'm not going to get into details about that, but there's a whole dynamic in that piece. And when you're working with them, supervision, leadership support, parent partners treated as equals, right? I've talked to, lived experience. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we're continuing to keep is that equality across the board, right? The importance of that, even within our task force, we've created, a lived experience group, which we have the co-chair, Mr. Jason Sharp here, who is the co-chair for that has been developed. And so that way they have a place, or should I say, we have a place to go to vent and then to talk about, things like if our voices are really being heard. And, as a co-chair to that task force, I'm there too. So that way I can hear it and I can bring it back to everyone else and say, okay, so this is a conversation that we have to have. How do we have this? Well, let's be direct with things. And so, that's something that we've done within the task force. So something just to think about as well. And of course, teaming, multiple disciplinary, inclusion of fathers. We just talked about that, right? So I've been privileged to be one of the leaders in that within the PPAC, within UC Davis, as well as other individuals. But I'll tell you this, that it's not just a gender. It's not just a father thing. There are wonderful female trainers who have done wonderful jobs in that. Yes, there is a piece that connects with, fathers with fathers that's needed, just like mothers with mothers, but it doesn't mean that it's just specifically, for male trainers. I've had colleagues who did well working with fathers. And so just some of the things to share and to think about as well. So moving along. So here it is for community consideration, opportunities to strengthen and advance programs. And so we want to be able to bridge that gap, right? And so this is what parent partners, but there's just this extraordinary piece, and you've heard a lot of individuals who came out to share about, the concerns that take place, but how much work has been done behind that? The power of having someone with a lived experience being able to bridge the gap between the agency to the community, which is something that's very powerful, right? Advanced sustainability and spread of programs to promote successful prevention and timely reunification, among other positive outcomes outside of child welfare. To build on the passage of Family First Prevention Services Act, and of course, to support networking and further evidence building of parent partner programs. And that's something that we've been sharing, and I know Jason brought that out, is how do we get the word out about parent partners? How do we get the word out about that? Or, if you're a county, you're curious about that, how is it that you can have that opportunity? Well, I can tell you right now, the UC Davis is one of the universities, especially the Family Focused Resource Center for Family Focused Practice, that has the PPAC, Parent Partner Advisory Committee. And I may be getting ahead of myself, but also has technical assistance to be able to answer questions and to help in developing that, or to finding who it is that's in your backyard looking for that lived experience, to be able to bring that, a bridge between the community and, the agency, whether it's child welfare, probation, behavioral health, in order to build, these comprehension prevention plans, right? It's important that we have, that lived experience voice there, not just, as it's been shared, just at the table, but a part of what it is. And so any questions or comments on this one? You good to move forward? All right. So let's see. Once again, got squirreled. So I do want to bring this out, and that's the ladder of co-production. And so this is something that, it was shared a bit with some individuals who were sharing earlier. Thank you for, Angela, I think we need to bring you in as a, co-presenter, right? So bring you in to be able to talk about some of these things and so on. And so, so the ladder of co-production is kind of an idea. It's like a layout of where agencies can see where they're at, right? And so I know that Angela was bringing some of them about, she used the exampleship of the case plan, right? That the case plans are developed when they're supposed to be developed with the parents. Sometimes they're not, to be real, and the parent is just put there to just sign it, right? And so to be able to go forward. So so we talk about the ladder of co-production from coercion all the way up to co-production. And so we're gonna get a little bit more in detail into this. And this is, you also have the handout for this to be able to see this. So that way you can kind of look at it and kind of gauge your agency in where you're at with your developing, especially within the CPP, right? And so being able to see and, examine yourself and see where your agency is at. So hopefully no coercion takes place. It is interesting for us all to self-assess where we are actually on the ladder. So we're going to start on the bottom here with coercion. So coercion views are not considered, even if an event about services includes them. So we're talking about, the plans that are inclusive of the community of individuals that we're working with. So coercions are plans that are already developed. As I'll use the example, if you don't mind, Angela, as you shared about the case plan, right? Where the case plan has already been developed and now it's being offered and it's saying, here, just sign it. Just, you do what you got to do, and so that's the coercion piece. And so looking within yourself, to see, hopefully we're not there, that we're creating plans and as we shared, nothing for us without us, right? This is one of the things that we want to see. And you know what? I will say this, if you find your agency yourselves there, then you know what? There is also room to grow, right? This is why we're here. It's not about condemning and saying bad agency type of stuff. It's how we can view ourselves and our convictions and being able to move forward. So Jason, you have it?
Yes, it kind of reminds me of similarly, oftentimes we're in a CFT with a family and the agency reads off the cans to us, even though from all that I've read, community partners are allowed to participate in the cans. But oftentimes in practice, it's just read off to us without us being able to say, no, that number should be different. I've seen the mother or father demonstrate this.
Absolutely. Well, you bring an excellent point. CFTs, if there is already a plan and there's already a decision, then it's not really a CFT. Let's be honest, it's not. CFT is a child and family team meeting where families come together to have conversations to develop a plan, not a plan already been developed and the decision has already been made. And we're just here just to kind of take up space and all that. So thank you, Jason, for that. So the coercion piece is we shared right there, it's already done. So we'll go to the educating, right? So the education stage is where service users are helped to understand service design and delivery, but nothing further than giving knowledge. So educating is simply just educating. It's already been developed still, right? And it's how the services work, how they use it, and to understand the design of it, but there's nothing further except for just giving knowledge. The next one is the informing. So informing is where those responsible for organizing services explain to people how the services work, what decisions have been made and why. So this is the informing piece. It's letting them know, well, this is what's been taking place. This is what the services, have been developed, and so this is how they work. And so now it's up to you. There's nothing more to that. There's no inclusion with the individual with that lived experience. Consultation is where people are asking to fill in surveys or attend meetings. This can be sometimes a bit tokenistic, as the people completing the consultation have limited power to influence and affect change. So it's simply just going and just throwing surveys out there and attending meetings, right? And just like kind of checking a box that we had these individuals come in. And so we gave them some surveys, and so they gave us their feedback, but yet there's a limitation on the power of the voice being influenced in the development on whatever is being developed in that moment. So that's what consultations. So now we go to engagement. So engagement enables people who use services to be given more opportunities to express their views, and there may be some influence over decisions depending on how much those coordinating services will allow. So there's still limitations there in code and engagement. So it's giving them the ability to be able to share, to give input, but it's only, and it may influence a little bit of the decision, but it also depends on the individuals who are developing these plans. And so next would be the co-design. And so co-designing is where the community are involved in the design, which is based on their experiences and ideas. They have a genuine influence in the shape of the service, but not. They have the genuine influence in the shape of the service, but have not been involved in the whole process. So there is a little bit more leeway to speak in, to have the influence, but they were not brought in the very beginning. So it still has that a bit of a limitation. It's a lot better, but it's not all the way there. And so, and last but not least, so when we reach the top of the ladder and have co-production, you'll see an equal relationship between people who use the services and those responsible. They have worked together on the whole process, design and delivery, sharing strategic decisions about policies or the best way to deliver services. See, the term co-production refers to the way of working whereby everybody works together on an equal basis to create a service or come to a decision which works from them all. It is built on the principle that those who use a service are best placed to help design it. Apart from the expectations in the Senate, joint area review, education, social work, etc., that don't want to see co-production. There are plenty of reasons to co-produce. So in other words, the importance of bringing individuals who have used these services, these plans, in the very beginning, to begin to have the input, to begin to be able to develop, is the way that we have that co-production, and which we will begin to see the shift on services, but also the viewpoints that we're looking at. So the ladder of co-production, trying to fix people who are passive recipients of services, which is educating and coercion. Next is engaging and involving people. Engagement, consultation, informing. Doing with is an equal and reciprocal partnership. So as you view this, I'm going to give you some time to really think about your agency and think about where you're. I'm not going to ask anybody, right? I'm not trying to put nobody out there. I'm not trying to, throw dirt or anyone like that. It's just something for us to look at and to take into consideration. Where are we at? So I give you a couple minutes to think about that. Where are we? Where is your agency at? As a matter of fact, we go to these 3 questions. And we're not gonna have the discussion. Just wanna give you some time to think about that. Where are you on the ladder of production? And if you would like, you can answer these questions on your own on a piece of paper and kind of just be yourself so that you can have that with you. And of course, this PowerPoint, I believe, has been given over to you as well to ask these questions. And the next question would be, where would you like to be? As I shared with you, it's not throwing dirt. It's not anything like that. It's about looking at ourselves and our agencies. And of course, I understand that not all of us have that control. And of course, change is not easy, especially when we have policies and all. It does not mean that we cannot have this discussion. And finally, how can you get there?
And there's really, thank you for this, Roger. This reminds me of a family engagement matrix that we do. It's an authentic engagement matrix. I think they've all been developed off of the ladder, of success. But I think it's important to note that it doesn't matter where you're at. There's no shame in where you're at. It's having the ability to identify where you are so that you can move forward. It's difficult to move forward until we absolutely acknowledge exactly where we're at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Enzo. And yeah, that's the whole purpose. That's the whole point, is for us to begin to think about this, especially, and once again, I shared about the timing, right? This is, opportunity for us to really look back and you know what? We're not going to get all the answers right away. Things are going to take some time. And that's why, when I was asked, when you asked me, it's about patience, right?
Right.
And I can't ask that of everyone who has lived experience, because, everyone's different. But for myself to continue going forward, I'm not here to tear anyone down.
Right.
But we do have to have sometimes these difficult conversations to say, okay, so where are we at? Where are we at on this ladder? Where's our agency? Where am I at? Right?
Mhm.
Where am I at on this ladder? What is my perspective of this? Am I making the effort? And I know Guadalupe, thank you. Unfortunately, skip to the engagement step. We need to go back to co-production and pushing for us to engage our communities. Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm curious, would anyone like to share, and real quick, the 2-3 minutes, would anyone like to share your answers to these questions? No pressure. Like I said, you're not throwing shade. It's about just, having this conversation.
I will share that in Ventura County, I honestly feel like we're in different, depending on what level you're talking about, or different programs. I think we could probably fall on any one of these areas. I know, for example, for the CPP, it feels like, granted, I'm pretty new to this whole thing. I've just got transitioned over to this side and in a new role. But from what I can tell, it looks like we've done a pretty decent job of actually co-designing, co-producing a plan. But then I think about other things, like the things that were brought up on an everyday of the CFTMs, the CANs, that case plans. I feel like we still struggle a lot to engage, I would say, on a consistent basis. I think that's what's key, is that I don't think that we're consistently doing it. I believe that we are. And I think a lot of times it's a matter of communication, and we talk a lot about quality supervision and how do we ensure that that level of work is being done.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. You bring up an excellent point. It depends also. So narrowing it down to the CPP, you shared about that as well, right? And so this is where our focus is at today on that piece. But yeah, it could, we can go for days talking about this, right? Not just hours, but for days about the different, regions and the different, just the plannings and just everything in general. But, that brings up an excellent point, right? Once again, there's no such thing as a perfect system, right? So it's an imperfect system run by imperfect people. And, this is why, we will continue to work on this at the same time, looking at what it is that we can do while we can do it. What's within our space is something also to commend, right? If there is some, some progress going forward and on. So I can say that I've seen since when I had my situation way back to today, I've seen a lot of progress, I've seen a lot of transformation change, but I also see a lot of work. So thank you for that. Alyssa?
Thank you, Roger. I'm with our local CAPC for my county, and I'm just going to chime in here on the CPP process. I feel like when we were looking at it now, right after just talking about this ladder, I feel like we kind of skipped to the engagement part as well, because we we're in the process of creating a parent advisory council at this time, like parent guardian advisory council. But that was after the CPP was already created. So it kind of goes back to talking about care plans, CFTs, things like that, is really starting to look at it from the very beginning, from the foundation, and inviting parents to the table, right? Not the table that's already created, but a table that's just now being created, and have them be at that table and be a part of the creation process, to then be able to determine, hey, what are your thoughts? What do you think our CPP should look like in our county? They're the parents with the lived expertise and knowing what services, maybe gaps and bridges, what's going well, what's not going well. So I feel like for us, we may have skipped to the engagement aspect of it, but with myself and my colleague that's on this call who serves our county is two parts. We have Eastern and Western. And so we're both on this meeting with her and I going to be kind of spearheading that parent advisory or parent guardian advisory council. Our goal is to have that be completely parent guardian led, and us ask them kind of to lead the meeting, lead the topic of conversation, so on and so forth. And so I feel like for us, we can change the dynamics of the ladder and not just jump into engagement, though our CPP already has. We can start from the bottom with the parents and our advisory council. So that's exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exciting. So we're going to go to the agenda now, and then we're going to move on for the sake of time. Time flies, I'm telling you.
I just wanted to add, because I too am in Ventura County, like Lydia was speaking on, and I'd have to agree that there is a lot of procreation. I am a parent partner, and I've been on this side for at least 5 years. And so I see the progress, and I see more and more parents with lived experience coming to the table. But I kind of wanted to hone in on how can we get there? How can we even create this to be better? You said something interesting that really caught my attention earlier, is we have to speak to be heard, not to allow our emotion to be seen, right? And I think that is going to be key when it comes to getting there, is maybe with these new families that are coming in to the table, they need training. And I think that's what it's going to be, is if we can bring other people in and give them a training to understand that we're not here to speak out of emotion. So many come in with vengeance, they come in, they're so angry at their social worker or whatnot, and they get really tunnel vision. And so I've just noticed that, because I try to bring in a lot of families. And I think that's just one big key that we're missing, is the training for the parent partners or for these families with lived experience, so that way their knowledge can come out instead of their emotion.
So 2 things with that, Janelle. One, the parent partner with, understanding, the way that things function, you catch more bees with honey than with vinegar. At the same time, also really looking at what is the discussion, because sometimes that raw emotion has to be brought in to shake things up. Right. It has to be brought in, so that way, just like when someone's sharing their story, or someone like a family with lived experience who's coming to express their feelings, those pieces right there of that raw emotion to be able to come really reminds reminds us of the human piece to this, right? And so I think it's a balance. I'm not saying someone coming in and cursing everybody out, right? But being able to be free to be able to share that, you're right. So, that's why I said there's two parts, not that you're wrong, right? Because I'm a believer in that as well, training my colleagues. I had a different type of guideline coming through, right? I was a minister. I did volunteer work with probation. So I had a taste of the agencies and the functions. So, and then my colleagues would come in and, be a little different, not in a bad way. They were just who they were. And so we met each other and we were able to feed off each other when we needed to get, have a certain way of doing things, but also not to turn everyone off, right, when we're speaking. So, you're absolutely right on that piece. It's that balance piece, where we need that, that sometimes to come out raw and to be upfront on certain things. So that way it reminds everyone, hey, this is real. So thank you for sharing that. So with that, we're going to go ahead. Antonio, because of the sake of time, you mind putting it in the chat? I'm sorry. I don't want to cut anyone off.
I was just gonna take 2 seconds. I just wanted to share, it's really hard for a parent to come in and share and speak up when they've been wronged in so many ways, when they've been re-traumatized, when they've been victimized, when they've been failed by the system, when they've been blamed and shamed. I, as a parent with lived expertise, not only failed by the system as a youth in foster care, but also as a parent that had to deal with the foster care system. So it's really sad and it's really, really heartbreaking when the parents don't get to come in and actually speak up. And then when they do speak up, they get shut down.
Yeah. And like I said, those moments, absolutely, there has to be, a space for that. And so that's why when we're talking about, and I've shared this many times with individuals that I've worked with, is if we're going to go outside of these walls, right? If you really, truly, genuinely want to hear, the experiences, and we're going to go outside of these walls, this is what you have to expect, right? You're going to get the full emotion, but I don't think it's a bad thing, because if we're truly genuinely trying to get the experience and, the pain and all these things, so that way we truly understand, this lived experience, to understand lived experience, then you have to know that, especially when you're out in the community, you're going to get a full-on earful. You can't take it personal, because this is where you're going to get the full-on information. So thank you, Antonio, for sharing that piece as well. So, all right. Oh my God, time has just flown by. So I did want to share this real quickly with you all. It is in your training guide. Training guide. I'm overthinking. I'm in training right now. So we have the Department of Social Services that has about the parent partners, the importance of them. And so, but also Casey Families, they have highlights on how do parent partner programs instill hope and support for reunification. So, yeah, time has just taken off, but you know what? It's okay, because I appreciate the conversations we had. I appreciate the ability to be able to, have and hear out, what we've heard so far and the importance. And so let me take you over to the information before it's time for us to go. So these are the resources that we had for Casey, but here is where you can get more information, right? You can reach out to the Parent Partner Advisory Council or Committee and get trainings. You can, get some TA information on support. If you have parent partners and they're brand new, you can also send them through the trainings that, UC Davis provides specifically for parent partners and peer support specialists. So that way they can get, the engagement trainings that they have. And, what counties love to hear is that these trainings are free. So and being able to put them through that, to be able to see and meet other parent partners for the support and all that, just in case it's new, or even if it's someone who's been around for some time, it's always good to be sitting amongst other individual lived experience who may have certain things to be a part of and all that. So, all right. So with that, I believe. All right, just want to make sure I'm looking at the chat. Thank you, Michelle, for that. And so, any questions? Well, I take that silence as that we're good to go. Thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to share this space with you all. And hopefully this was, this gave you some, things to think about and take with you. You all are rock stars to me, doing a wonderful job. And so thank you for attending. So I'll turn it over to you, Michelle. Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah, thank you, Roger. That was amazing. And thanks everybody for your participation. We are going to break now, and then please come back for the afternoon session at 12:30. And then at the end of that session, we will return back to the main session for closing. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.